Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. So welcome back to Now TV Canada, and I am just on YouTube channel. I am your host, Jen. I am the writer of the Smallville Re-Union Movie, Supergirl 2, 3, and 4, and a new story, which will be called Superwoman's Story, creating the answers to the character of Superwoman and where she's been, what she's doing, why, and all the stuff that people have wanted to know basically since the creation of Superman by our lovely Canadians over here. So I actually wanted to make a video today about Johnny Depp, but I've been looking through feed online and doing some research around some stuff, and lo and behold, some stuff comes up about Tom Welling again. And it just gets under my skin as somebody who's been around his entire career, as a person who's been writing before he even had a career. And then there's the security guard, bodyguard part of me that's been doing this job for him without pay for 20 years of that accumulating time period between us. I started becoming a security guard at the end of my marriage because no one was there to protect me when I was growing up. There was no shield, there was no armor, there was no hero, nobody fighting for me, nobody to pick me up in their arms and rescue me and be my hero. There was no Superman in my life. There was no Clark Kent, there was no Smallville, there was no Tom Welling in that sense. However, he was Charlie Baker, Cheaper by the Dozen, Steve Martin. Stuff was around during my first-time motherhood experiences in my early years and the end of that terrible relationship, very violent, dangerous, sociopathic marriage. Ooh, the guy, it's like a pendulum. Like when things were good, it was good, but you just never knew when you're taking a step on an eggshell when it would blow up like Minecraft game, right? So I decided towards the end I wanted to do stuff, train in self-defense and other things where I could get stronger, be bold, promote my assertiveness and feminism beyond holding a baby in one hand and punching the guy in the face on a desperate swing of self-defense with the other to protect the child in me. So I did. I put myself head first into all kinds of first aid, self-training for, self-defense and nonviolent crisis intervention and other stuff. Then I got my security license and I never looked back. I just moved forward from there. So I wasn't just right off the top thinking about his well-being and safety as he got more successful and took the part as Clark on the show. But I can tell you from the very beginning of his career, when he did finally accept the role, I can tell you the whole story. And I can talk about this instead of Jamie White and Jesse because they don't know. They have no idea what's going on. They have no answers, no clues. There's a reason why Jamie filed for divorce. There's a reason why Tom keeps repeating the same mistakes and that he just basically imitated the same marriage in the second attempt, which we all know is called a rebound. And now rebounds are not supposed to last very long. They're kind of supposed to be short. And Jesse sort of kind of already noted that by wearing a very short white dress, which was kind of cheap if you're getting married for the first time and you're supposed to be having a perfect white dress experience. It's not too many people that would choose to do what she did if you're marrying somebody who's supposed to be that Tom Welling. But if you don't know that Tom Welling, then you don't really know what you're getting into or what you're doing. So after reading the stuff that I saw online, I realized I have to make another episode about Tom Welling. Let's talk about Tom Welling because I need to, air off this stuff. I got divorced. I filed for divorce in 2002. It takes a year, if there's no problems, essentially, for a divorce to go through. So I got my divorce in 2003, official, right? It was filed, it was done. I had no contesting because he refused. He's like, I'm not going to go to court. I won't sign the papers, because he was that controlling and that kind of abusive person. He just didn't want to let go of having any kind of opt in power where he could continue to behave the way he had already gotten away with since he was 16 years old or whatever it was, and all the girls he dated previous to me, and then all the girls he's gone on to be with since me. I don't know why guys like that are not put in jail or put into institutions, diagnosed, and made to go for treatment. What do you call it? Restorative justice programs or whatever, or be told that they can't have relationships. Like, why can't the courts pass a law that means a guy has to be made into a eunuch so they cannot do any more damage than they've already done? Now, with Tom, it's a little bit different. Becoming a model and an actor so young, he had issues with intimacy, as in falling in love, opening up, letting people in, showing real emotions, feeling real emotions. And part of that has to do with the entire spectrum of the rainbow God gives us in the feelings we have as a benefit to our being human, that we need to go through the process of to be healthy. And Tom Welling does not cry. He does not break down. He will not allow himself to feel so much emotion or love, like even through reading a script where he's impacted so desperately that it moves him, that he changes. This became a problem on the TV show Smallville, and then at home in personal life. Now, I tried reaching out to Jamie White to befriend her because I knew that my life and its story and my career as a writer and what I was trying to do for Tom as Charlie Baker, because that was my dream come true. It wasn't Smallville, Superman, Clark Kent. I had different things happen in my life that triggered that. And if you watched my Brad Pitt story about Heath Ledger and him, you would know what triggered my writing the Supergirl trilogy had been the death of Heath Ledger. My inability to write A Knight's Tale 2 because I didn't know enough about that era of world history or life. I couldn't write stuff around the 14th or 15th century where people were fighting on horses with daggers and armors and girls were pretending to try to be boys to get in. I just couldn't. I had to write what I know. And I knew about superheroes. I knew about Christopher Reeves. I knew about Superman 1, 2, 3, and 4. I knew about my childhood where I would break things when I touched it because I was so strong, and that it would send me into tears, and I get upset because I don't want to touch the drawer handle or the door handle or play volleyball because I don't want to put another hole in the roof in the gym because my blunt is so powerful. And so I saw that Superwoman being born inside of me as a kid. But I knew nothing about him because he's younger than me, right? I wasn't aware of, while I was being traumatized and damaged, that there would be this kid that would want to be Charlie Baker, that would become this guy that would look at this girl with her first pair of glasses in the bus shack one day and go, holy macaroni, for Charlie Baker, this is it for me. I found the woman of my dreams, the love of my life. Even though in my Charlie Baker story, Charlie doesn't get to be with that older girl because she's always leaving the school that he's coming into. So fast forward to Smallville and him taking the part as Clark, him turning it down multiple times. Clark had a different idea. Clark was thinking something different. Clark was feeling something different. Clark had a different path in mind. And this was affecting Jamie's personal life with Tom Welling. People have to understand this industry, and when people are musicians and dancers and actors, how much a part of their lives the characters they play are and should be if you are a responsible person, responsible leader, and wanting to do the best to make it believable and be the best at something that you have this passion for. Right? It matters. And so she was struggling with what to do about that because she didn't understand that part of him, that part of his work or his world or his life. And he wasn't volunteering it. Right? I am the only one that got to know him so quickly, so early in his career because I had been writing before he'd had that career. So I was aware of his pattern of behavior what he refused to give up and do. See, Clark, aka and Tom, were fighting for somebody to know them in ways where you didn't need to talk about stuff where she would already know, stuff where she would already know what to do, stuff where she would go and inquire and learn and read and get involved and then put her 2 cents in, defend him, step up to the plate, stand in his place, go knock on doors, meet with people, get into offices and fight, right? The way nobody fought for me when I got into security. So it never, ever came to my mind that my security career was a natural part of becoming a part of his life and overseeing his safety and security from my side of the camera where nobody saw my face, but everybody could feel that I was around. But Erica Durance can defend from the time she got into the show in 2004 when she's wearing those platform shoes, standing on top of his heels, that she was standing in for somebody. The cameras even reflected it and shot the scenes that way, that these girls were all stand-ins, but they couldn't see who it was. And he behaved like an actor playing the part where the character was stubborn and going, I want this particular experience. I need this particular writer and this particular performer and actress to get that. And so he had really determined to be on a one-track mind and he wasn't budging. And so people wondered why he wasn't so social, didn't go to parties or do anything, because he didn't want to do anything wrong or make mistakes. He was trying to be serious about doing this stuff right as Clark so he could get that person and get that experience right. And the thing about Clark, if people know anything about the 10 seasons of the show, then you know how special he is, right? The whole point is the real Clark, the real Kal-El, the real Superman would be a very romantic person, a softie at heart, you know, the kind that would serenade you from the window, flowers and roses, and try to make you food, even if he burns it, it's a little overcooked. Breakfast in bed, play some guitar, even if it's a little bit off key, sing, write some poetry, take you to special places, surprise you with renting, you know, fancy cars, limo rides, just the stuff that he would have done had he been able to achieve the goal of the character and the person he was looking for. The point of that Clark is that he felt like he was on this earth for more than just saving the world. He felt like that he was down here as that particular Superman who wasn't human like the rest, was looking for somebody special, somebody super special, who needed his love, who needed his type of impact, Superman kind of care to help with all of the excess damage and baggage in her life. And we hadn't met, but he knew I was there. Jamie knew I was there because it was affecting their relationship when he would come home at the end of the day. People were witnessing his behavior at work where he wouldn't socialize much. He would just go to work, play his part, do his acting, and came to the end of the day on camera, he'd just go home. And so the issue with people in the industry together is if you're not in the industry together, then most of the time these relationships are doomed and they're going to end in divorce because there's no communication. There's a lack of compassion and understanding and involvement. So when Tom went to the photo booth, the color photo booth, sorry, I have a spammer that keeps calling. So when Tom went to the color photo booth after he accepted the role for Clark and the TV show Smallville, after turning it down multiple times, he went to this color photo booth completely alone. And I was upset and I was mad, right? Jamie White is a nice person. She's wonderful. And so I'm like automatically right there aware that there was trouble in the relationship. Right, the bells and whistles were going off for me as a bodyguard and as the writer of the stuff. And my dream and vision with working with him as a co-star lead character of Mrs. Charlie Baker. You know, the other Baker that goes on a book tour. Only my book's not about having 12 kids, but about baking, about cooking, about recipes, right? Coming from historic women and lineage where we have like this 18th, 19th century style of food and recipes that no one cooks today. And I realized he shouldn't have gone to that photo booth and taken those pictures and celebrated alone. That he should have called her. There should have been some sort of connection as best friends and communication going on about what time are you finished, what you're doing, or where are you? Let's meet up here at this mall, and taking pictures together to celebrate a monumental, momentous moment of his life, because we don't get younger as we move ahead. As time moves forward, we age and get older. So there's no second chances for first chances. And it has occurred to me that all of the writing I've done, the movie work that I have accomplished, and the stuff that didn't get produced on time when it should have, and all the stuff that got made in that time frame has put the whole industry behind me 12 years. So Hollywood and all the actors and movie producers and people who got famous and got their work produced and published, and comedy careers that got started instead of my work, it's all wrong. It's all off target. Because the point of that color photo booth, I hadn't wanted to recognize, didn't want to deal with, but it had been about all of the work I had completed. It had been about the binders and all the movies and the poetry books being in picture together, where we're combining our stories of getting famous in that color photo booth. And it's about having that right agent and person who could defend or go to bat for what his needs were, make less mistakes, feel safer, more protected, and be able to do the job as an actor and enjoy it more, and feel safer. So I wanted to make sure people understood in this episode about all the rumors of stuff that was always under my skin. Tom Welling is not a person that goes around having affairs. And this stuff has just taken its toll on my nerves, right? There's a reason he's not here hanging out with me. There's a reason he's not reading this stuff, in spite of the fact that it is okay for him to read it. There is a line that he's afraid to cross, and he's tired of the background information that's been spread. There's a reason he made choices the way he did, and I'm not afraid to put it out there for him in a way where I can explain it in a way where he's like, oh, so glad somebody did that right for me. Thank you. She's telling the truth. So through the years that Erica Durance was in the show doing the Lois Lane thing, which he was right and she was right, was not essentially supposed to be the way the show ended of them getting married. It never happened. Lois Lane and Christopher Margot never tied the knot. It didn't happen. It's not in the story. There is a part of the story in the comic books, if people did their research, where Lois wanted to become like a superwoman to be with him, right? Because they knew he's superhuman, and that means he would live to be like 1,000 years of human Earth years. So that's a problem for a Superman from another planet, because he don't age much. He's going to look, 30, 40, 50 forever. But she'd be dead by 100. So she made a wish, and it's like, oh, I wish I could be Superwoman for a day. And I've shared that little cartoon, that artwork that I did the research and found. They did make her like Superwoman for a day. That she did have her own Superwoman outfit, whatever. But it didn't take off. It didn't fly. Haha. And so nobody knew what to do. But essentially, that wasn't the right ending or story. Just like Peter Parker and the girl next door, right? All crushing on her. At the same time, it don't change the fact that once he got bit, he's now a mutant. He's no longer all human. And same thing with Black Widow and other people who've been affected by superfoods and the changes happening where they become mutated and they're no longer 100% human. These become factors and problems in relationships, because you've got to think about, if we have kids, what are we producing? What's going to become of this, right? So it never happened. Clark Kent and Lois Lane never got married and had children and lived happily ever after. Clark Kent is not a farmer. He's not a cowboy. He moved to Metropolis and was a newspaper reporter. He liked the big city, drive nice cars. He liked, to dress a little bit flashy, have some money, do fun stuff. Go visit the farm to go visit his mom after Jonathan died. But it was just never going to happen that he would retire on a farm and follow footsteps of Jonathan Kent, because it's not his real father. Though there had to be another story that would go further back, explaining what's going on here about these changes with Clark. So I want to lay it to rest that from 2004 till the show end, Tom and Erica Durance did not have an affair for most of that marriage that he was in with Jamie White. That is not what caused their marriage to come to an end when Jamie filed for divorce in 2013. I had got divorced officially. My filed divorce was done in 2003, and they had married. I never remarried because my career mattered more. It mattered to me to the point where I wanted to get that right and not be distracted or be with wrong person. I wanted to be with the characters he played on so many levels in so many different stories so bad. I was so hungry for that work with him, to be like that new Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the Joneses, where we were like the new Brad and Angie kind of thing in our style, because I wanted him to have an experience of what it's like to have a dream come true on screen, in the sense where he's never had so much fun in his life, never enjoyed himself more ever than working with this one particular person over and over and over again. Producers and actors do this. If they like each other, like working with each other, they will work together in stories again and again and again. And co-stars do the same. If they work well together, they will make more than one movie. And if the stories are very, very different and the characters are very, very different, then you can do that. And so that had sort of been my focus at one point. But my original intent and desire had been Brendan Fraser and Charlie Baker. So Brendan Fraser was all about Encino Man and Flintstone, because I wanted him to play Bam Bam to my Pebbles. So I had wanted to work with him really bad. And so I thought, I got to get really good at this. And I knew that if I was going to make up for it as a writer where my acting fell short, I have to write stuff good enough that would impress certain people. Now I look back and I realized that Steve Martin and Martin Short would have been happy if I had just written You've Got Mail Too. Just one big major motion picture movie would have been enough for them to say, yes, okay, if you're that good at writing, and this is the first movie out of the gate you've written, you can definitely play co-star with those actors and roles you want. I know stuff about the dinosaur dungs and where the dinosaur bones still sit today, the dinosaur parks. I know stuff about Canada that Hollywood can't produce without me, without my mind, why the world is melting, right? About Link and his parents and where their nomads are from. I can't talk about in this video, but the point is, you can't ignore or erase or forget about Canada and Canadians. We're here and we know stuff, and it does make a difference. It matters. Just like all that wasted time with James Gunn and all those movies and all that production time and stuff. Since I had made my movies, that was a waste of time. That didn't need to be done if my stuff had been done on time, if people had been reading and supporting the work. Essentially, if things had gone right, Tom's life would have been better for it. The co-stars, other people's careers would have all been better for it. So clocks are ticking. They had no kids together in that marriage. She divorced him, and he didn't waste any time. He just moved on in rebound motion, which everybody does, because he didn't file from her. She filed from him, right? So he had already met Jessie from going to the same stable where they had, ridden horses at. But he hadn't gotten close to her or anything. Nothing was going on there. She was still very young, For him, it was still like taboo. You got to get a little older, whatever. And there was like no instant karma. Oh, like love it for sight stuff going on, right? He literally went from somebody that was magnificent to a lesser than. And that has shown in his soul and in his self-care and in their relationship. The world sees it. We see it. The fans see it. And Clark can't work. Superman can't work. His character can't live or breathe. Nothing can be done. There's no way of going back to it with the wrong person on your arm, the dead weight, or somebody who can't connect with you and your career or your work in a worse way than it was for Jamie. because this person wasn't watching his career, following his movies, doesn't know anything about his character's background or issues, knows nothing about the heebie-jeebies. The point is a more disconnected, and it's even worse than before that. And he didn't waste any time. He didn't wait. He just had those kids. January 5th, one was born. July 5th is the date that they were divorced, right? So he literally went from 5th to 5th, right? Boom, boom. And he gave the same 3 years of dating time. And there was no affair. Again, I'm trying to tell you that there was no affair while he was in the process of divorce. But he wasn't in the habit of just sleeping around. It's not like that. But they did have their first child out of wedlock, unfortunately. So that doesn't play in Clark's or Superman's favor, but it does show that Tom is just human, right? And when those 10 years with Jamie didn't produce beautiful kids in marriage, what's a guy supposed to do when you're that kind of rich and famous and only have access to a small circle of people, a field of people because of money, right? Oh, the status, the budget. Now, I grew up in the hard knock life. I live in a world financially where I still have to fight and struggle for where my money to pay my bills is coming from, because none of my work got published, produced. My channel hasn't taken off. I don't have all of these major hits coming in that produces enough results that YouTube starts paying me again. But I just wanted to clear up that he wasn't just dating somebody while still being divorced, and that it took him some years before there was any declaration that they were together publicly. And then again, it was just that 3 years of publicity together in that dating time. And at which point he did meet me in person. And at which point he was aware of me and my comments on his Facebook page and knew that I was the writer of all of this stuff. At that point, he had found the person that had been there the whole time. Since the day he took the part and was like, to the person that made him do it, behind God, that was behind the issue of why. I'm going to choke you if I find you. I don't want to be Superman. Because of my writing career required him to play certain parts and be a certain person and be a certain actor to benefit me, so that I would, in the end, write the stuff I've now accomplished writing. Without him doing that, it wouldn't have happened around the death of Heath Ledger. There is another thing that happened in 2008 when the show was still running, highly active, and it could have continued to run, kind of personal. And I don't really want to talk about it because he's not here to agree that it's okay to talk about it or talk about it with me. It's that kind of moment where if I was talking about it, he should hear, walk into the room, cover my mouth and say, no, not that part. So Jamie White would confirm this. And as an explanation for what happened in the last 5 years of their situation together, and it wasn't Erica Durant's. So just want to lay that to rest. And again, he wasn't just, getting divorced at the same time as dating somebody else. That wasn't happening. She was there in the background at the same stable for a couple of years before any decisions were made to do anything else. And he didn't take enough time, slow down enough to learn more about my connecting security background and his career and my writing career to find out more of the right answers that were right there at the end of his nose at that time. So things could have gone differently. So I just want to let you guys know that he went on to marry he went on to marry Jessie, replicating the same thing with Jamie. He just did the same vineyard thing. Only this time it was the Sunstone Vineyard winery instead of Martha's Vineyard. But I can tell you, I would never get married at a vineyard ever. So that would just never happen. You could never cheese out on me and just go that low, like below the belt. So I just have to bring that up about how predictable and same he is, and how he don't like to waste money or take risks, all big expenses, and he's not willing to put any effort, real intimacy, openness. He doesn't want to let down the shield. and let anything get in there too deep other than the bodyguard that's already in there, the person with all the keys that goes from room to room, and with the duster that clears away the cobwebs and gets rid of all the bugs, and has the flashlight going through all the dark corners, right? So for Clark, the point of that is that only that person is in there. Only that person can get in there. So what it comes down to is that when Tom was trying to explain to Thompson about why the Superman costume was not in the Halloween closet, it's because Superman is not a Halloween costume. Superman works for God. God's the good guy. Superman has an image to uphold and a story to tell, people to protect on this earth. Halloween is a bad custom. It's negative. And it wasn't made by God, authorized or approved by God. Therefore, Clark Kent, aka Superman, has the common sense to know that he doesn't want to hang himself up. Like, doesn't want to be done, first of all. So he doesn't want to hang himself up in a closet, first of all. Second of all, he don't want to hang himself up in a costume in a closet. So he tried to explain to the boy, Superman is taken. And the point that Tom is making about why we don't talk, and about that statement of Superman being taken, and Erica Durance and Kristen Kruick and Jamie White and other people could all confirm in the years of watching the show get made and watching Clark's behavior, and why they got mad because he never flew in the suit, is that he's actually telling the truth. This one time, Tom said it right when he was telling the boy that Superman is taken. Superman is taken in this movie. He's taken in all of the comics and all of the stories and all of the stuff that is written by writers, by imagination, about passion and creativity, and the fans that are dying for, desperate and loving it and wanting more. So that Superman can only go with the right person behind all of the work and the results that are in there with that character. So what it comes down to is that Clark Kent cannot read the second half of this. Clark Kent will never know the second part or book 2 of this story when Tom Welling is in a broken situation, a dysfunctional situation, a repeated pattern situation that he'd already been in before, because of the dishonesty and the secrets and the bad things that had actually gone on to hurt my life, hurt my daughter's life, and hurt what I was trying to do for us, beyond saving his life by getting him baptized, studying the Bible, praying, going to church, which had been my primary thing for him as Charlie Baker, and having the Bakers all go back to church and, redefine their relationship with God and Jesus Christ, and why they're a happy family of 100 people all married and living happily ever after, right? Because God oversees their lives and household, and they're thankful. But beyond that, I simply was trying to make things better so he could feel good about playing the character again, want to go back to playing the character, feel safe and confident, and no longer have the heebie-jeebies. But as long as he's with somebody that constantly does hashtags or vision boards where you're talking about alcohol and alcoholism and little kids in diapers holding alcohol bottles, even if they're empty, or how the best character and the best episodes and the best times and the best things that Tom ever played were all bad people in bad TV land. Well, then he can't read the other part of this. He can't get there. He can't get the blessing. So Clark is stuck in here with me. The fans are stuck in here with me. And the only way out of this for me, if I'm editing and proofing the second part by myself, is by going to different parts of the world, finding different people, and literally closing the door on Hollywood so they don't know or hear or see or read any of that information, so that he doesn't have the ability to have it in his head while he's in that situation, because it would not go well for him emotionally if he was in that current situation and then reading what's in the second half. Because if you guys thought the first one was good, you ain't seen nothing yet. You thought the first part, you think this book is good, you want to read the second one. You want to see the second one. You want to see the whole thing put together, because that second one, Well, that just ties the whole thing together so perfectly that it beats the entire 10 years of the show. So I just needed to do this episode and air out some more history about all of this situation around Tom and his first marriage and the divorce. It took 2 years for that divorce to be finalized, for them to come to an agreement. And he had only known about Jesse and the stables they rode horses at, which, by the way, was the only thing they had in common that brought them together, that made them talk, was about horses. And she knew enough about how to own horses, take care of horses, and do her horse stuff, and have a flagship store because she's rich and lives in a bracket of world where people can connect with her and help her out with stuff that I could never do if I didn't live in that bracket. So I don't have that selling factor. I don't have a flagship store promoting my Smallville Re-Union movie, You've Got Mail 2, or my Supergirl stuff, or any of my other products. So I'm making money while sitting on my butt and sticking my feet up on a footstool. Therefore, they met in that stable, and that divorce wasn't finalized till 2015, and there was no public announcement of their dating until 2016, and their first child wasn't born to 2019. So I hope I broke it down for you, that Tom doesn't just go from sheets to sheets and doesn't go around just having affairs during the process of breakups. Now, in my case, the guy I divorced, dude did not wait 4 months from the time I left the house, moved out with our child, our only child, to my own apartment, before he was out streaking himself in the neighborhood, bouncing around to different women. I lost track. And in the Bible, it declares that if a person is having an affair, committing adultery, that it's an automatic divorce in the eyes of God and in the Bible. So there was no effort there for me. I didn't have to lift a finger to worry about nothing. It was fine. I could just file the divorce, and he never needed to show up at court, because of how many times he was already out there doing that during the time that we had still been legally married. So he just made things much easier for me on the day that the court went, bam, you've got your divorce and custody of your kid, which I didn't end up getting to keep the custody of, and I won't get into that nightmare. That's a whole nother story. But that did lead to the birth of the second child, which was out of wedlock, which was Bruce Wayne's only child, by the way. Father is Bruce Wayne. Batman has a child. She is a girl. And I was trying to give her up for open adoption to Tom Welling when he should have still been married to Jamie White. That's a different video of Let's Talk About Tom Welling, where I think emotional anticipation of the idea of being able to adopt a child might have been there somewhere, and he didn't want to share it. Like, oh, it's my baby, I'll adopt her, and then I will hang out with the mom and bug her and buzz around her head or whatever, and try to build a friendship that would be different than what I had in mind for having a couple stay together, study the Bible together, pray together, go to church together, and live happily ever after together. So clearly we're still fighting about this. We're still talking about this stuff without talking. But I will say this about Tom Welling and me. Never in my lifetime has he or I had a better relationship with anybody ever, where we just literally don't have to talk about anything together. We can talk all we want apart from each other and not watch or listen other than just little minor feeds that go through our timelines, and know exactly what's going on and understand everything. So it is by far the best friendship I've ever had in my life. And it was worth the investment of being that bodyguard there for him all of this time. But I will say that I would like to get my back pay. I do want to get paid up. I would like to retire and I'd buy a hobby ranch or farm and learn how to milk a cow and have some horses of my own. I don't even know the last time I rode a horse. And, maybe make some wool, learn to knit, crochet better, and, have my own cheese and sour cream and access to eggs because it's so expensive to eat now. So, yeah, that's the learning experience. Like, I don't do cowboy boots or hats. I grew up inner city, so I don't square dance or two-step. So all of that stuff, it's just different, right? Because now I'd like to just work on more work and write stuff like Stephen King does. Like, have a wall full of things and I can say, I wrote that. So hopefully all of this will work out right. I'm going to end there. Just needed to get that off my chest, that the stuff you're reading on the internet, don't believe it as it is, the way it is written. It isn't that way. And that's kind of one of the reasons he jumped from one marriage to another. He literally wanted to lay that stuff about Erica Durance to rest. Literally didn't want her to end up divorced, have her marriage come to an end over the stupidity of everybody thinking that they had this thing going on for almost their entire marriage, like Jamie's marriage and him or whatever. Just done with that. And that, of course, nothing there ever happened between him and Kristen Cruitt either. So in that respect, I get why he just likes to always be married so that he can always just say that he's off the market. I get that. But that's a problem for Clark, and we need to work that out big time. So I could see like a doppelganger thing where Clark is like beating up this guy that looks just like him, whose name is Tom, because he's ruining Clark's life. That might actually work out pretty good. But I didn't write about that in my 2-part stuff either. At any rate, there's my thing. I got my Let's Talk About Tom Welling stuff off my chest today. Went over the 30-minute mark, but that's okay. It's still worth watching the whole thing. It started pouring rain outside. I wanted to go out, get stuff done. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. So I'm going to take a break from this, reheat my coffee and stuff, and I'm going to make another video about Johnny Depp. And I just wanted to end this with going, I had many gifts over here for Tom, for Thompson. This was during COVID. The face shield Superman. Because of the fact that there is somebody else in the picture, and Thompson's intuition was very strong. Thompson's very smart and very aware that things are not right. Intuitively, there's something missing. And when he's slamming on the piano, I'm still standing. I could see the bodyguard and the friend in me in the situation that's missing, and helping him understand who I am, who Tom really is, who is Superman. Because you can't avoid the work. It's there, and at some point he's going to get to watch it so he can understand when Tom said Superman is taken. One day when he's read the stuff and he's watched the stuff, he'll be old enough to go, oh, yes, I understand now. Superman is taken. And so it's important to stay honest and do it right. I have other stuff that I had bought for cuddling and stuff, warmers for when the second one came along, and there's still yet other stuff. Something that I had bought that was meant to be eaten, which you cannot eat now, but you can still see because I kept it. So hopefully he'll still be able to access all of these remaining items of the stuff I did. And I have recorded and photographed a lot of stuff through the years while this stuff was being done wrong to me. So I look forward to that being resolved, because I know that my Tom Welling would have never done that. Clark is not a dishonest person. He's not a liar, a cheat. And so Tom, knowing all of the right facts, would want to figure out how to fix it. So that's the focus of these videos when I do the Let's Talk About Tom Welling stuff. And I will come back soon with the Johnny Depp story, another true story. And after that, there's going to be a Lawrence Fishburne and Claire Danes story. So yeah, I have had an interesting security career. It has not been boring, at the very least. So stay tuned for all of those Let's Talk About episodes with all these other famous people. So peace out from Gatineau, Quebec, Canada, where I am right now. This is Superwoman signing off, aka Jen, and I am just on YouTube channel, or Now TV as it were, and what's happening now in Canada. Bye for now.